It is Tuesday, which means we travel the world today, and in Wonder the World, we are wanting to take a closer look at the people who make game drive and safari in the African bush what it is. Now, if you've ever been on safari, you'll know that a great guide can turn a simple game drive into really an unforgettable experience. They're not just spotting animals, they're reading the bush, they're sharing incredible stories, they just have a wealth of knowledge, keeping guests safe as well and bringing the wilderness to life. And every year, South Africa's very best guides compete for the title of Safari Guide of the Year. It's a competition that's become the gold standard for excellence in the industry, and this year's winner has just been crowned. Joining us today are Michelle du Plessis, who is the Managing Director of the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, and Sarah Barratt, the newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026, and only the second woman to ever win the title. Welcome both to CapeTalk. I think, Michelle, I'd like to start with you. For people who've never heard of Safari Guide of the Year before, what exactly is this competition? How long has it been going, and why was it created?
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity. The event was created, number one, to really showcase the best of the best and what skills are involved in delivering, an exceptional world-class experience. It's also recognizing guides at this level to show them that we see them and we acknowledge them and we appreciate the level of skill that they have, to conduct the best possible experiences for guests from all over the world.
And how long has it been going now?
It's been going on for 15 years.
Incredible.
We celebrated our 15th year this year.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Over this time, you really must have seen the competition evolve quite a bit. Why do you think it's become such a respected benchmark in the safari industry?
Well, I think, every year the level of candidate certainly plays a part. Guides being able to get their skills, acquire their skills, and have experience in the bush takes time. So time is always the one factor to consider, so that, determines the level of skill and the level of guiding that is needed. And so we've also been able to have it on various parts of the country, which has brought it to a new level. But at the end of the day, it's about the level of guide and the guides that are being nominated, because this is a nomination process. Right. So that's really amazing, because that level has just increased every single year, and so the benchmark increases.
And I mean, when people think of safari guides, they often imagine someone driving a vehicle and then just pointing out animals. But I mean, this judging goes far beyond that. I mean, I can already think that they're at the core part naturalist, part storyteller, safety officer, psychologist, someone who also knows where the blankets are when it's very, very cold. What are the judges actually looking for, Michelle, when they're judging? Because I mean, I'm sure you must get an incredible amount of guides nominated.
Absolutely. You've touched on most of the categories that the judges look for and are involved in. But most of all, safety is the most important. But the overarching criteria is the level of professionalism and authenticity and level of experience, because that pulls it all together when it comes down to the finer details. A lot of the guides and the nominees that are chosen as finalists do so well at the level of skill. But skill is one thing, having the skill and the safety, etc. But the determining factor is, what do they bring to the table that is authentic? Because you want them to immerse their guests into their world and how they interpret the environment so that it's memorable.
And Sarah has only become the second woman to win the title. I mean, what does that actually say about how the profession is changing? I mean, have you over the past 15 years seen more and more women entering the field and being nominated?
Yes, we definitely have. We're very proud of the fact that that has increased over the years. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's not about gender at all. It's about what that experience is and the level of skill and experience. And it's just shown, though, that women are capable in that environment. It is a dangerous environment. You know, you're also considering the fact that sometimes finalists are married, might have children, that sort of thing, that are operating in the wild. And so that brings another whole dimension to their level of skill that they need to keep a balanced life. But we're very proud of the fact that more and more women are coming into this industry, and primarily because it's actually a legitimate profession. It is something that FOGASA has put on the table, is to recognize guiding as a profession. So we're very proud of that fact, and he's very proud of Sarah, of her achievement.
If you are just joining us, we're inside of our Wonder the World feature at the moment. And if you've ever been on safari, you'll know that a great guide makes all the difference. Joining us on the line is Michelle du Plessis, is the Managing Director of the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. But I want to turn our attention now to the newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026, Sarah Barratt. Congratulations, Sarah. You must be quite chuffed.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now, you're a guide at Thornybush with 15 years of experience across the country. What went through your mind when your name was actually announced as the Safari Guide of the Year?
Gosh, I was seriously taken aback. I genuinely couldn't believe it when they called my name. But yeah, now that it's starting to sink in, it just feels like an incredible honor.
I'd like to start at the beginning with you, Sarah. What actually drew you into this line of work? Did you always know that you wanted to be a safari guide?
I didn't know it was possible. I come from England originally and always obsessed with African wildlife and conservation. And growing up in the UK, we're not told that being a safari guide in South Africa is an option. So I was aiming more the political route of conservation, studied government and politics. And then after my studies, I came out to South Africa for what was supposed to be a short, temporary volunteer program and realized I can be a field guide. And
what was that journey like? I mean, would you say that it's an incredibly challenging and demanding?
It was. It's a different world, really. So many of the skills we use as a field guide were not something I'd been exposed to in England before, you know, firearm handling, off-road driving, things like that, handling dangerous game on foot, of course. But it's a challenge that is well worth taking.
We're chatting to Sarah Barratt, is the newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026. Only the second woman ever to win the title. When you hear that, I mean, what goes through your mind when you hear you're only the second woman to win the title?
It feels like an honor, but also a big responsibility to show other women that they can do the same. We are, of course, men and women all capable of being exceptional guides.
And people often think of guiding as, you know, kind of, you know, the names of the animals, you can drive, you know how to track. But what do you think, Sarah, are the skills that separate a good guide from an exceptional one? I mean, when you are greeting your guests to take them out on a drive, what is it that's going through your mind in terms of that experience that you want to leave them with?
The most important thing by far is the feeling you can create for the guests. You know, with a good game drive, you'll see a lot of nature, but with an unforgettable game drive, you don't just see nature, you leave feeling connected to it. So it's the feelings you can really create for and leave with your guests.
I mean, one of the things that I think also you must be equally good at reading people as reading animals, because I'm sure
100%.
not every drive is the same because your people change all the time.
Definitely. And everybody's got a different point of connection. So you do have to have that emotional intelligence. You have to be able to read your guests, and you have to be able to adjust your guiding tactics so that you can reach people and you can find their own point of connection.
I often think as safari guides also as conservationists, because I think that you have this incredible respect and patience for being in nature, but then because you're dealing with people, you have this ability to pass that on. I mean, is that something that you think about, that your love of wildlife and nature and preserving those environments, is it something that you think, that you hope that you pass on to the people that you take on the drives with you?
Definitely. And one of the most rewarding parts of our job is, yes, we educate people, but once people learn about the natural world, they start to love it. And then when we love it, we want to protect it. And that is such a fulfilling thing to be able to do.
We are inside of our Wonder the World feature today, and joining us on the line are Michelle du Plessis, Managing Director of the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, and Sarah Barratt, the newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026. I want to come back to you, Michelle. If anyone's listening at the moment and thinking, my goodness, I know somebody that I would like to nominate, how does the process actually work every year?
The process is pretty simple. On our website, there is a Safari Guide of the Year section, and there is a nomination form. So we appeal, guides are nominated through guests, they're nominated through their peers, they're nominated through the establishments that they work at. So it's a very organic way of being nominated. So there's a form they fill in, and towards the end of the year, we'll open those nominations up to start getting ready for next year. And they just simply send them through. And then we follow quite a rigorous selection process of all the nominations that we've received.
Are the judges going on all the drives with all the different nominated guides? How do they? I'm thinking that would be a lovely job.
Oh, it would be if we had, we've been very fortunate. Every year there might be an opportunity where we need to, if it's really tough to decide, who those 5 are, we do like to go into the workplace just to get a little bit of extra exposure to the guides. But fortunately, in the last couple of years, we haven't had to do that. The level of the interview, because we run a series of interviews with the judges, and that gives us a good feel. And generally, we've been so fortunate to have such an exceptional level.
So, Michelle, for someone like me who's been on a few drives, and really sometimes I'm thinking, this has been such an exceptional guided tour, I can then just go over to the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa website, and I will find the nomination form live there?
Absolutely. It's downloadable, and it can just be emailed to myself, and the details are on that form. Or they could give us a call as well, and the details are on the website.
Now, I want to come back to you, Sarah, who is the current newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026. You spend so much time observing nature, and I would imagine cultivating patience, because you don't always get to see what your guests are hoping to see. What's the biggest lesson that the bush has kind of taught you about this patience and this life?
That it's not just about the big things. Of course, our guests come, especially from overseas, and want to see the typical big 5 and the bigger game. But a lovely part of the experience is being able to enthuse them about all of it, big and small. If you don't see big game, there'll be plants, there'll be birds, there'll be insects. You can talk about the ecosystem as a whole. It's all fascinating, and it's all connected.
And I'm sure that every guide has countless of stories to tell about encounters that give them goosebumps. Are there any that you would like to share with us? Just maybe one that you found was a really standout moment in your career.
Gosh, there's so many, but the moments that always give me the biggest goosebumps and always the most moving for me are when you can see that moment within your guests where they realize that we are a part of nature. We're not separate from it. That moment, it is life-changing for anybody who experiences it. So to be able to create that and share in it with the guest of the guide is always so precious.
Yeah, and I always imagine as well that this thing about being a great storyteller. I mean, do you see yourself as a storyteller as well, Sarah? Is this a skill that you had to cultivate over time, or were you just natural at that as you were growing up?
I'm sure my parents would say I was good at telling a story as a kid, but it's of course a skill you've got to learn. You've got to develop, no matter how naturally it might come to you in the beginning. It's a skill that you definitely develop over the years, and you change how you tell stories to different people.
The other thing that I would imagine that you also, as a skill that you need to have as a guide, is kind of having spidey senses almost, because you're a safety officer, you're tracking, you're trying to look for the big game as well as tell that beautiful story, having patience and timing. Do you guys have spidey senses? I mean, is that the correct way to put it? I would imagine that there's like all these things happening at the same time, even though most guides that I've ever met look very calm.
Yes, it is again a trained skill. Your observational skills, your observational awareness. There is a lot of things going on all at once. You're on the radio, you're working with your tracker, you're looking for signs of animals themselves, managing them and their behavior, keeping an eye on your guests, interacting with your guests. And over time, you just get used to juggling all these different aspects of the job.
So it becomes like second nature then to you.
Yeah.
Would you encourage young people, particularly young women, to pursue this as a professional career?
If this is what you love, if wildlife conservation and sharing that enthusiasm with others is what you love, then definitely, it's an incredibly fulfilling role.
Well, I want to say congratulations again, Sarah Barratt, the winning guide for the Safari Guide of the Year 2026. And thank you so much to you and to Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much to you and to Michelle du Plessis, who's the Managing Director of Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. Sarah is a guide at Thornybush, but there are so many wonderful, I mean, we just live in a country where so many wonderful guided safari drives that you can take. And if you've had a spectacular safari drive or a guide, you're welcome to share that with us as well. We'd love to know your experience. Yes. Anecdotes, stories, particularly about spotting things. I've been on one recently, and for me, what was so fascinating is it's the first time that I paid attention, like Sarah was saying, to the entire ecosystem. You know, you get into the drive and you're thinking, oh, I just want to see those animals. But actually, the last drive that I was on, the guide really painted such a beautiful picture of the entire ecosystem that I wasn't looking out for the big animals anymore. I was actually looking at the plants, trying to see what was flowering, because it was actually in the Renosterbos region, which is sadly a ecosystem that's shrinking, if I can put it that way. But what a wonderful initiative from the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. And we say congratulations again to Sarah Barratt, who's the newly crowned Safari Guide of the Year 2026. I want to encourage you to head over to the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa's website. If you've done a drive and want to nominate a guide, please do.